Aloha guys, it's Crash with Radar Contact. Today we're here to talk a little bit about getting around in Eve, how to get through some of the gate camps and just the general idea of movement in Eve, getting from place to place. Before we go any further, if you don't mind, please click the like button and think about subscribing so you can see the other videos that show up. Let's get started. So for this tutorial, I've chosen the trusty shuttle to fly around just because of its quickness to align and its decent 5 AU warp speed from place to place. So that's what we'll be flying for this tutorial, and we'll talk about other ships that you may be in, what you should fly through certain places, what you shouldn't fly through certain places. So here you can see we're in the JITA Trade Hub. The information right here on the top left tells you what's going on around you basically. So we'll kind of start from the top left and move down the entire tree here. First, you've got this little picture of the sun here. It's the same thing here. It's just, there's an A here and A here for your route. Here is a search magnifying glass, which is the same as this here, and then you've got the skilling spree tab, which looks like a flag. I can't really tell what it is, and that's here. So if you want to close any of those, minimize any of those, you can select it from above, and some of them you can actually select on the side as well. Alright, so let's open them back up and we'll talk a little bit about each individual one. If you notice right here, it says system info. So what we're looking at is all the information on this current system that we're in. First, when you hover over JITA, that is the current solar system. Next to it here, it says security status. So that's going to be the security status of your system. You have anywhere from 1.0 down to 0. Then you also have wormhole space. Next to it is your constellation information. And then next to that, you've got show region information. Below it, this is the current station we're in, which is JITA Moon 4. I'm sorry, Planet 4, Moon 4, Caldari Navy Assembly Plant. And it tells you that the faction that controls this space is Caldari State faction. Now we add the route to it, and you can click the A here, and this pulls up your route menu. So if you know where you want to go and you know the exact name of the system, you can click it in here. I'm sorry, type it in here. You can type in your system. You click search, so let's just do, so let's type in Amar. We ultimately are going to end up going to Amar. We've got the solar system Amar. It's a 1.0 security system, and it says it's 9 jumps from here. We right click on it and click set destination. And you can see when we do that here, it pulls up the route, and it shows you some different colors here. It shows you where you're going to be going next, your ultimate destination, which we'll talk a little bit more about in just a moment. Autopilot in this game is more your enemy than your friend. You can also click show route in space. You can filter how you want the route, whether you want it shorter. You can make it safer by staying in high sec space, which is 1.0 to 0.5. And then you can do prefer less secure. So let's say you wanted to go around and maybe try and find some PvP. Most of the time we're going to have either prefer shorter or prefer safer selected. Then you have this box that says avoid systems where pod killing has recently occurred. If you don't know what a pod is, essentially inside my ship here, I'm in a pod. If I right click and leave my ship, then you see your pod. So we'll go ahead and reboard, get back in the shuttle. Alright, coming back into here, you can then set systems to your avoidance list. If you were to have your autopilot active, this is just telling you that you can set it to disable each time you hit a waypoint. And then you have this manage route button. Right now we don't have a route in here, so there's nothing set. Again, let's go ahead and set a MAR. If you look, you can see right here, there's some nice high sec systems showing the blue and the green. Then you've got this one red system here, which happens to be Nyarja. That's a new thing in the game. Start out by undocking and just going outside the JITA trade hub and seeing how things go. Alright, so here as we're leaving the station, you'll notice if you look on the overview up here, the distance to the station is 0. It's going to stay 0 for a little while until you get further on the edge. Once you get to the edge, it'll start to count down. So anytime you're in this 0 for distance area, you can press D and dock back up to this. So let's talk about the overview a little bit and what you're seeing here. So the JITA is the station we're currently in. All these icons help you decipher what's going on. We currently have this tab here. This is our travel tab. So this is our travel tab. This is what we use when we're going places. So as you noticed, even though all these ships are right here, you can't see them on the travel tab. This just helps you manage what's going on a little bit better. As you notice, squares are all NPC stations. They're all non-player stations that are part of the game. This right here is an abyssal trace, not really worth noting right now. You've always got a star in here for the most part. And then you have the circles that are stargates. So from this system we can jump to any of the other systems. We notice this stargate here is yellow, and that is because we had clicked that we want to go to Amarr. So the first place over here that it says we're going to have to pass to get to Amarr is perimeter. So perimeter on the overview has been highlighted for you to see easier as to what your next planned jump is. So let's go ahead and jump to our first system, which will be perimeter.
Warp drive active.
We go into warp, shuttle aligns quickly, and warps off. Okay, so as you jump to a new place, you'll see over here it no longer says JITA, and now it says perimeter. It tells you it's a 1.0 security status. It's still in the Kimitoro constellation and still part of the region, the Forge region. Still Caldari State, and then we still have all of our route stuff. Right here you'll see that if we continue on our planned route, the next system in our route is Erlen. It's a 1.0 security status. It's also in the same constellation in the same region. And right there it shows you Erlen is this little blue dot, which is correlated to the 1.0 blue color for the security status. Amarr is our current destination. It's also a 1.0 security status. It's in a different constellation and it's in a different region. So we can see down here, here's our yellow beacon for the next place we want to go, which is Erlen. Just warped through into Erlen. Now I wanted to talk to you guys and show you about the F10 and the F9 maps that can be used in the game. Since we're still kind of close to JITA, we'll go ahead and warp to a moon just to quickly speak about it in more of a safe place. So I'm going to go over to my warp out tab. We'll pick this moon here, moon 1 of planet 4, and we'll warp to within 70. So we'll press F9 and I'll show you kind of how big this system is and how you can get around it via a map as well. This pin is us. If we want to center on ourselves, all we have to do is focus current location in the top left. And that centers us on where we're at. As I go across them on the right, you can see everything is selected on the left. So this is just a map of what all these different things are. So we can either click on the right or we can individually click on the left. So that's the system map. F9, really useful. The green glow you see here is your directional scanner. If you want to know more about that, there's a directional scanner video that we have as well that you can go look at. Now let's talk about the F10 star map. So this is the EVE map. I'll try and give you an idea of how big everything is and what game you're playing and how many places you can go. So we are in one system. I just showed you the system map. If you look up here, you can see that it says solar system, constellation, and region. So when we zoom all the way in, it brings us right back to where we were earlier. Here's the solar system map. You can see the different gates. Everything that was on the other one is also here. As you zoom out, it goes from the solar system map more to the constellation map. So again, this is the actual system of Erlen. As you continue to zoom out, it starts to show you all the different things that are around it, how to get to them. If you wanted to, you could go from Erlen to Unpass or Kisogo, or however you say all these names. Wherever you wanted to go, you can get to them by clicking around here, and it's a good way to find little off the beaten path systems if that's what you're looking for. It also shows us our route and space that we created. So we want to go to Amarr, and Amarr's all the way over here. So we have 7 more jumps from where we're at. Alright, so here is the map colored by security status. So everything that's in the middle here that you see, the green, the light blues, the oranges, yellows, those are all going to be your high security systems, your low security systems. All this outer stuff in red is your null security systems, or 0.0 systems. To give you an idea of how big everything is, you're in this one little tiny Erlen system. And you can go to all these little dots everywhere and mine or do whatever you want to do. So the EVE area of play is very, very, very big. This also doesn't show wormholes at all, so there's another 2,600 different wormholes in the game that connect to all these different systems. And a wormhole could connect you possibly just by going through one wormhole from over here to somewhere in one of these systems. It can go anywhere within any of this basically at any time. So that's where the fun in wormholes comes. So that's the overview of the F10 star map. Now another really good way to see this that makes it easier to travel without having to come open this map and view everything individually is a website. So here we are at EVE Gate Camp Check. Let's put where we're traveling from today, which was Jedha to Amarr. Jedha, we click it, and then Amarr and click it. Alright, now we have a couple options. We can either add a system that we want to avoid, or we can leave it blank. We can add a waypoint and make another system that we want to go to later, whatever the case may be there. We can prefer shortest, more secure, or unsecure, which is what I was showing you guys in the game earlier. So in this case, we're going to do shortest, and we're going to click check. Nyarja is now a red system. It's considered nullsec, and there has been 17 total kills. And it tells you which gates that these kills have been happening at. 3 kills at the Caputenan gate and 14 kills at the Matermillir gate. If you wanted to filter out Nyarja or put it on your system avoidance, you can click here, type in the name, Nyarja, or however you want to say it. Click it, and it's going to give you the shortest path while avoiding Nyarja. So there you go. The shortest path for us is going to be now 24 jumps to get from Jedha to Amarr and going around Nyarja. You can see there's been a couple kills at this gate and this one, but nothing significant. These are all low-sec systems. You definitely want to be careful if you're going through a low-sec system, and I recommend not doing it until you get more experienced in the game. If we wanted to go secure and only high-sec, we can click secure, click check, and now you have to go 46 jumps. But everything's green, and the chances of you dying are incredibly low unless you're hauling very expensive cargo and somebody finds you hauling that cargo. Alright, so here we are back in game. You can see I have this still set the way we did earlier. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to our route and we're going to change some of this so you can see exactly what we were seeing on the gate check website. So right now we have prefer shorter. It has us going through Nyarja, which Nyarja is a very dangerous system, and you more or less can't pass it unless you really know what you're doing. I would completely avoid it. The first thing I would do if I get in this game and I were you is I would set Nyarja to my avoidance list. To set Niarja to your avoidance list, you right click the system here if you want, or you can type it in and show info on the system. There's different ways to do it. And then click down here where it says Avoid Niarja Solar System. So now when I click that, it's going to change our route. It's going to try and find us the shortest route, but still avoiding Niarja. Alright, so there we go. So now it's got us going through more places. One of these places is a low security system, which is also semi-dangerous depending on what you're flying. So a lot of times you'll have to check and make sure that it's clear or avoid it altogether. So now if we decided we were flying a freighter or something, maybe a really slow mining ship that we don't want to risk being killed in Vacamia, then we would click safer. So we want to stay in 0.5 or up to 1.0 where possible. So now it's going to show us here, in order to get from where we're at all the way to Amar, which is normally 10 jumps through the shortest way, we now have to go 43 jumps for the same route. So in order to do that, you've got to go through every one of these systems. For this tutorial, we're not going to go through all these high secs because all that is just jumping through individual ones, just doing the same thing over and over again, and it's not really what we need. So we're going to actually set it back to prefer shorter. We're also going to manage our route. Right click on Niarja and take it off of our avoidance list. So here in your manage routes, you've got the different places that you're going to be going. So we're currently in Erlin. It's just showing you essentially what this right here is showing you. It's showing you in a clearer list. If somebody asks you, hey, where are you at right now? Let's say Crash Jaco is asking me, hey, where are you at? I can either type in the box Erlin, or you can simply drag and drop Erlin. Once you do that, you can right click Erlin and you can set a destination. Well, we're already here, so you can't set a destination. Let's do, so we pulled Ashab down. Let's say we wanted to go to Ashab instead of Amar. So you would type that in, or you would click it. Right here, you can right click and you can click set destination. You can also add it as a waypoint. So after you got to Amar, for instance, if you had it as a waypoint, then you would go back to Ashab. You can save the location, you can show it on a map, you can show it in your map browser. Avoid Ashab is also available here, and that's about it. Now I'm going to show you the different ways we talked about earlier to click. So I already showed you one. You can click where you're going, and then you can right click and go jump, and that'll take you to the gate and you'll jump through the gate. Another way you could do it is right click in space. There's all these different things you can go to. You can go to an asteroid belts, planets, stargates, which is what we want. You can go to a station, or you can go to a player structure. So we want this stargate, which is this yellow stargate, which is Serpala. So we can go stargates, find Serpala, and do the exact same thing as if we had just clicked on it on the right, or right clicked it on that side in the overview. And we can click jump. So that's the second way you can do it. A third way you can do it is over here. This is your next system in your route. You can right click it and click jump through Stargate. Or you can just right click, which is what I typically do, and then press D. I'm sorry, not right click, just click this system, Serpala, and then press D, which D is just right here, and it just means that you want to jump. Shortcut key is D. If you wanted to warp to that gate but not jump, then you can press S or click this command right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click it and press D to jump through. Let's go ahead and engage our autopilot. So one thing we want to do, if we're just truly going to autopilot from gate to gate and not be at our computer, which again I don't recommend, we're going to disable, we're going to uncheck disable autopilot at each waypoint. We're going to engage autopilot here. And there you can see it automatically warps to Stargate. Okay, so it must be closer to 12, not 15. So here, instead of it saying less than 2,000 meters, it's going to tell you it's approaching Stargate. And it's going to go really slow, depending on which ship you're in. This one's actually fairly quick because it's a shuttle. And once it gets to within 2,000 meters, it's going to jump. If you're in a mining ship, it's going to take much, much longer.
Autopilot jumping.
So not only does autopiloting make you more vulnerable, it also slows you down to probably somewhere around twice as long to make the same amount of jumps. Alright, so now we're going to go through this gate. I want to talk to you guys about the cloak timer, which is going to show up over here. This is the area where all your timers are going to show up in Eve, and we'll talk more about that in some other video, or I'll post a link. But for now, just know that the cloak timer, which should be about right here, is going to appear when we go on the other side of the gate, and your ship will be cloaked. So let's go ahead and jump now. Alright, so when you zoom in into your ship, you see it is cloaked. Nobody can see you, nobody can uncloak you at this point. Anytime you have this cloak timer active, this is a 60-second cloak timer. So every time you jump through a gate, if you were to jump in here and see some bad guys for some reason that you think might be trying to kill you, or you want to look around and try and decide how to go somewhere else, you get about a 60-second period to kind of think, give yourself some time to come up with a plan, and then execute that plan. If you want to, you might decide going back through this gate is the best idea. You might decide that going over to this station is a good idea, but you have all this time that I've been sitting here talking to come up with that plan. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to go ahead and head towards Nyarja. Let's quickly talk about Nyarja. Nyarja is basically null-sec in a high-sec space. The game doesn't avoid it for you. It will still send you through that space, and if you're flying anything other than a ship that can align in about less than 2 seconds, you'll die just trying to leave the gate. And I'll show you how to see if your ship can align and warp within less than 2 seconds. So first you can press Alt F. So over here on the right, this tells you everything about your ship. Down in navigation, there's this little box right here that says align time. Time to enter warp from full stop. So it tells us right here that it takes us 1.50 seconds to enter warp from full stop. If you can do it in less than 2 seconds, you're generally okay. A shuttle does it in 1.5. Some interceptors do it in 1.5. So you can get off the gate usually with zero issues, 99.999% of the time with zero issues, with a ship that warps faster than 2 seconds. So we're going to go in and I'm going to show you how to possibly get around the smart bombers. Hopefully it works for us. Let's go ahead and warp and I'll talk about it on the way. So what I did there is I just clicked this and I pressed S instead of D because we want to warp to the gate but not through the gate yet. So warping or pressing S is a shortcut key for warping to. So you see right here, key S, warp to within 0 meters, but not the same as this one, which is jump through gate D. All right, so once we get in this system, I'll show you. We'll have 60 seconds in here. We'll talk about it a little bit. We'll talk about where we're going to warp to and why we're doing it. All right, so there's our 60-second timer. It has started. If you look here, you'll see all these red ships. All these red ships are hostile to us, and they will pop us immediately if we lag around in this system. So what we're going to do is instead of warping direct to our next spot, which is Mattermere, we're going to warp to a moon. So over here in the Warp Out tab, you can click this. Come up with whatever moon you want. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure you warp to a moon. And then we're going to warp, and we're going to warp within, let's say, 100 of a moon. So we're going to warp to within 100 of a moon. Our ship is fully stopped. It starts to warp, and it's already in warp. They cannot target us that fast, and we end up warping to the moon. And there's our moon that we wanted to warp to. We don't see anybody here. We double check it by going to our clean tab or PvP tab, and there is no PvP presence here. So we're going to talk for just a moment. The reason we don't go from one gate to the other gate is because these guys can smart bomb. They've pretty well figured out how to time it, and they know how approximately how long it takes for a ship, for all the different ships more or less, to warp from point A to point B. And a smart bomb can be launched and positioned with math so that when you arrive at the gate you're going to warp through, then it'll detonate right as you get there. A little bitty ship like a shuttle or something like that doesn't have enough armor and it'll die. But you also can't pass through here in big ships because they don't align and warp fast enough. So we warp to the moon and then warp from the moon to our gate that we want to leave out of. So instead of going from point A to point B, we go from point A to C, but we put a point in the middle where nobody can see how long we're going to be there so that they can't plan to smart bomb us when we arrive at the last gate. And I'll actually try and see if we can get blown up after this is done to show you how they smart bomb. I don't know if they'll actually do it or not, but we'll see. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to warp to Mattermelier, whatever it is. They won't know I'm coming because there's nobody here to see me and to time it and to figure it out. So then I should have zero issues warping out of the gate. So you can see here's all the different guys that are at this gate. This is the gate that we looked at earlier. And we'll land. And we should warp immediately. There we go. And we started our warp. We're safe. So the main thing I do want to talk about is I don't want to lead anybody astray. Nyarja is extremely dangerous. If you go through there with almost any ship, you're going to get shot. Don't go through there with any expensive ships. Anything you don't want to lose, I would just stay away from it unless you're using a shuttle with an empty pod. Definitely make sure your pod's empty because if they shoot you and you have some sort of implants that you paid millions for, they're going to end up getting your pod and killing your pod too. So don't forget about your pod. Also, if you notice, these are, I forgot to talk about it, these are triangles, which means that they have been invaded by a Triglavian force. So if you read right there, this star system has been invaded by Triglavian forces. Enter at your own risk. There are different colors. There's red, yellow, and green, as far as I could tell. The red is the only one that is significantly dangerous. The yellow and the green we go through all the time. I wouldn't spend a bunch of time in there waiting, but just know that they are also Triglavian sites and could cause problems. So let's go ahead and go to Mattermelier. All right, let's see if they'll smart bomb us.
Drive active.
Doesn't look like it. No luck today. Can't get smart bombed when you want to, I guess. If you do want to travel through Nyarja, for instance, and you have set it to your avoidance list, how do you take it off? Alright, so first, come over here to the route. You can click the A. Then go Manage Route. Right click on your avoidance list here. Do not avoid Nyarja. Thank you guys for watching the video. Sorry it was a little choppier than I'd hoped. I didn't have a real clear direction on exactly what I wanted to do when I started it, and it showed throughout the video. But if you did learn anything, please consider liking and subscribing for future videos. Take care. Bye. Thank you guys for watching the video. Sorry it was a little choppier than I'd hoped. I didn't have a real clear direction on exactly what I wanted to do when I started it, and it showed throughout the video. But if you did learn anything, please consider liking and subscribing for future videos. Take care. Bye.